Early childhood.
Voting remains the bedrock of democracy, but the process by which ballots are cast and counted has changed dramatically over the years. Old-style voting machines and hand counting of ballots are things of the past, replaced by vote-by-mail and sophisticated machines. Once your vote is in the mail or the drop box, a team of election workers picks it up and delivers it to the county election center. After the security tab is removed, ballots are sorted by precinct or batch depending on the size of the county. Grouping ballots into batches allows for easier processing, including checking the voter's signature, as well as tracking for purposes of ensuring security. From there, Thurston County Auditor Kim Wyman picks up the story.
This is the beginning, actually, of our audit trail. And an election, really everything that we do from the moment we start the election to the moment we certify it is create an audit trail so that if you ever have an issue or a question or a recount where people are starting to scrutinize the steps, this is the opportunity for us to go back and be able to recreate any of the steps of the election.
After the ballots are sorted, each signature is checked against voter registration records. If there is doubt about a signature, a staff member may set the ballot aside for review. Ultimately, the decision to accept or reject a ballot can go all the way to the county canvassing board, which also certifies election results. By law, the board consists of the county auditor, the county prosecutor, and the chair of the county's legislative body. To protect the integrity of elections, many security measures are in place. These include requiring 2 staff members to be present at each step in the process, keeping ballots in secure, locked facilities, and using multiple security cameras running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some of the most important changes were the result of legislation passed during the 2006 legislative session.
Once the staff member has verified the signature of the voter, they do a very important step in the process. They give the voter credit for voting. One of the common questions I receive from people in the community is, how do you know dead people aren't voting or felons aren't participating in elections? And it's great to be able to say that in 2006, the state of Washington went live with a statewide voter registration database. And this is important because this allows us to have a statewide check of voters to make sure that they're not registered in more than one county, that if they have moved, or if they have changed their name, or if they have become deceased or become convicted of a felony, that we can remove them from the database and make sure that they are not eligible to vote in an election. And this is significant because this is the way that we prevent a voter voting more than one ballot.
After the voter is credited with voting, the ballot moves to a manual pre-inspection to make sure it can be counted by the tabulation machines.
One of the things that the inspectors are looking for when they are reviewing a ballot is, first of all, looking to see if the voter filled in the oval or completed the arrow or filled in the rectangle correctly. Is the ballot readable by the machine? There are 4 different types of voting systems in Washington State, and each system has specific parameters of what type of ink or pencil can be read by it. So it's very important as a voter that you follow the instructions that your auditor sends you to make sure that you are using an ink that can be read by the readers that are going to ultimately count your vote. After pre-inspection, the ballots are placed in trays by precinct, and they're stored in a locked area that is secured every single day and is sealed with 2 people that verify the seal, so that we know that the ballots are secured while they're in these trays through the entire process.
Several steps are taken to ensure that machine tabulators accurately count the votes. Election workers program the machines, then run a specially marked deck of ballots in what is called a logic and accuracy test.
And that is where we are testing the programming by putting in what we call a deck of ballots that have already been pre-marked, and we know what the outcome should be of those ballots. It's called a test deck, and that test deck is run, and we are checking to make sure that the tabulation equipment is counting the ballots the way that we have marked them. And once that test is done, at that point we seal up the results and we seal the programming. From that point forward, we cannot change the programming on the computer without the county canvassing board's authority to do so. Another piece and another layer of the security that we have is we have a log that's running from the moment that we begin programming to the moment we certify the election. That is recording every keystroke that we put in programming and every keystroke that is done to actually tabulate the ballots. We run the logic and accuracy test first thing in the morning on election day, and we verify that everything matches up and is still counting the way that we anticipate it should. At that point, we zero out the machines, we bring all of their totals back to zero for the counters, and then we actually begin tabulation. The first thing that happens is we take a tray of ballots, which are, remember, precincts, and we log them in, which is our first manual check that shows that precinct 101 was logged in, and then it's handed to an operator who runs one of the tabulation machines. They are going to feed those ballots through the reader, and they are actually getting feedback from the machine about the condition of the ballots. And so the display board on that reader is telling the operator if the ballot was read or not. If the ballot wasn't read, it needs to be run through again, and if it was read, we don't want to put it through a second time because we would be double counting that ballot. So we count the ballots. Those ballots are sealed into containers until the certification period or until the canvassing board directs us to reopen them. On election day, the last step is actually tabulating and printing results. This does not occur until after 8 o'clock in any county across the state. This is probably the most important thing that we all do, is make sure that after 8 o'clock we're actually tabulating and releasing results. So what happens is we take the discs from each of the individual readers, we put them into a standalone network which our tabulation system sits on. It's not connected to the internet, it's not connected to any other county network, it is standalone. Those results are compiled and then reports are printed out that show us the outcome of the election, who is winning and who is not, and then those are posted to the Secretary of State's page through another computer that's not connected to the tabulation system. So those cumulative totals are uploaded to the Secretary of State's page, where they combine the total statewide for statewide races and legislative and congressional races that cross multiple counties. From there, this happens, this would be election night. After election night, this process still continues. We are a vote-by-mail state, and voters' ballots can be counted as long as they have an election day postmark or they were put in a drop box by 8 p.m. on election night. Certification day is the actual official day where counties and the state certify the election and verify that the results that have been reported are the final official totals, and then those results are what will actually go into the history books. If the difference separating the candidates is less than 0.5% and less than 2,000 votes, a machine recount will be done statewide. If the difference separating the candidates is less than 1/4% and less than 1,000 votes, it will trigger a manual or hand count of the ballots statewide. I hope you found this tour informative and that you've gotten a little more insight into how we count your ballot. This is a complex process, and we strive to make sure that these ballots are counted accurately, with integrity, and transparency.
Voters can learn more about the state election system, including registration deadlines, sample ballots, and election results at your local county auditor's website or at vote.wa.gov. For more of How Does It Work, a Washington Citizen's Guide, visit tvw.org.